In this video, we're going to discuss the financial perspective of the balanced scorecard. So if a company is learning and growing and building the capabilities of its employees, then it's naturally going to improve its internal processes. It's going to be able to execute the activities it needs to execute on in order to make customers happy and keep them satisfied and bring in new customers. And if it does that, if it executes on all three of these non-financial measures, then ultimately what is going to happen is the company is going to improve its financial measures. It's going to improve its profitability, its sales growth, and so forth. So we've got these non-financial measures, these different metrics that we have to measure these things, and if we do them, the assumption is that it's going to lead to a financial payoff. It's going to help the company make more money. So that's the basic idea behind the balanced scorecard. And so when you're thinking about the financial perspective of the balanced scorecard, here are some questions you can think about. You can think about cash flow, and is the company increasing its cash flow for the long term? Remember, if a company ever runs out of cash, it's going to go bankrupt. So cash flow is one of the most important things a company needs to manage. We can also ask about, okay, long-term sustainable value. Are we adding value not just this quarter, this month, but are we actually building value in the long run? So we can measure some of these things. When we think about some of these different questions, our profitability, our sales growth, our cash flow, we can actually go and measure and say, okay, how has our revenue grown quarter over quarter, year over year? What about revenue per customer? Is each customer spending a greater amount of money than they were the last period? We can look at our operating profit, our net income, our earnings per share. Investors are going to care about all of these things. Our return on investment, economic value added. Are we earning a profit over and above our cost of capital? So there are many, many different ways of measuring financial performance. And in fact, this is what companies usually focus on. And the innovation behind the balanced scorecard is saying, hey, look, yes, this financial performance is important. Obviously, this is what investors care about and so forth. This is why we start a company, to make money. But if we deliver on these non-financial metrics, then that will naturally lead to the financial outcomes that we're hoping for. Okay, so let's tie it back to the example we talked about in a previous video where we said we've been hired to create a balanced scorecard for an online retailer. And we look at our different perspectives. We've got our 4 perspectives here. So we start with learning and growth. We were going to invest in employee training and try and improve the employee satisfaction. If we did that, it would lead to lower turnover. If employees are happy, they're less likely to quit their job. And if they're staying longer, then they become better employees. They're learning. You don't constantly have somebody who's new and they just started the job and they have a hard time responding to customer inquiries. You have people who've been there a long time. They've been trained well. They can respond more quickly when a customer has some kind of a question. That leads to happier customers, and the customers are more likely to stay, and we can retain them. And so we're going to have lower customer churn. Fewer people are going to be deciding to go to one of our competitors. If we do all of these non-financial things, if we execute on all of these, ultimately that will lead to improved financial performance. That's our assumption here, is if we can do these things right, then that will manifest itself in better financial performance. And our goals here, for this particular company, we're thinking about increasing the profit. How do we measure that? Well, we can think about increased net income. You could also think about increased operating profit, earnings per share, and so forth. But for this company, we picked increased net income. And then we're thinking about customers spending more. So this particular customer, they've been your customer for a couple of years. We want them to spend more money with the company. And we're assuming, again, they're happy. They stay with the company. They're going to spend more. And so maybe we can increase the spend or revenue per customer. So that's the goal. We're creating this balanced scorecard. We're saying, okay, look, we want to do this. And if we do this, we learn, we improve. We'll improve our processes. We'll make the customers happy. And that will ultimately manifest itself in improved and superior financial performance.